Japan has a new hobby, sniping the moon with a lunar lander. But why are they shooting at our lovely satellite? Watch this video and find out. Before we dive into that, let me ask you a simple question. Do you think Japan can compete with other giants, such as the US, China, Russia, and India? Let me know your answer in the comments below, but don't click away because the moon is not what you think it is. In the second half of the video, we have a surprise for you. Well, it finally happened. Japan has joined the lunar party. That's right, Japan has successfully launched a rocket carrying a lunar lander called SLIM.
Finally happened just hours ago, the successful liftoff of the H-2A rocket carrying Japan's Lunar Sniper,
which stands for Smart Lander for Investigating Moon. SLIM is not your average lander. It's actually a moon sniper, aiming to hit a very precise target on the lunar surface. How precise? Well, let me tell you. But first, let's agree on this. SLIM is not just a cool name, but also a clever design. It has 2 main engines and 12 smaller ones to steer and slow down as it approaches the lunar surface. It also has a laser, radar, and a camera to find its way to a very specific spot on the moon. SLIM is going to land on a slope within Scioli crater, which is located at 25.2 degrees east and 13.3 degrees south on the near side of the moon. That's like landing on a hill in a park while avoiding trees, rocks, and other obstacles. To make it even more challenging, SLIM has to land within 100 meters of its target. That's like hitting a bullseye from 380,000 kilometers away. That's why SLIM is called a moon sniper. But SLIM is not alone on this mission. It will also release 2 small probes, named Lunar Excursion Vehicles, before landing. These probes will record the landing site and explore the surroundings autonomously. They'll also communicate with SLIM and send back data and images. SLIM has some cool gadgets to study the moon as well. It has a multi-band camera and a spectroscopic camera to analyze the surface composition of the moon. It also has a passive laser retroreflector array, which is like a mirror that reflects laser beams from Earth or orbiting satellites. This will help measure the distance and position of SLIM on the moon. But hey, SLIM is not only a smart lander, but also a cheap and light one. It only weighs 200 kilograms, which is less than a baby elephant. It costs only $100 million, basically less than a Hollywood movie. That's a bargain compared to other moon missions, which can cost billions of dollars and weigh tons. SLIM is part of Japan's vision to show the world that they can land small and affordable spacecraft on the moon and pave the way for bigger and better things in the future, such as human exploration and colonization of the moon. But SLIM is not in a hurry to get to the moon. It will take its sweet time orbiting around the Earth for 4 months before heading to the moon. It will then spend another month playing hide and seek with the moon before finally landing on it in early 2024. If it succeeds, SLIM will make Japan the 5th country to touch the moon, after the US, Russia, China, and India. That's quite an achievement for Japan's space program, which has had its fair share of failures and explosions in recent years. For example, last November, Japan lost contact with its Omotenashi spacecraft, which was supposed to test a mini-lander on the moon. And in April this year, a private Japanese startup called iSpace failed to land its Hakuto R lander after losing communication with it. Not to mention the 2 test rocket launches that exploded this year due to engine failures. Ouch! But Japan is not giving up on its lunar dreams. In fact, it has big plans for the future. Japan is part of the Artemis program, led by NASA, which aims to send humans back to the moon by 2024. Japan will contribute by providing a pressurized rover that can carry astronauts around the lunar surface. Japan also wants to build a lunar base with other countries by 2030 and eventually send its own astronauts to the moon. Now let's switch to another topic. Did you know the moon was invented by aliens to spy on us? Yeah, just kidding. What I really want to talk about is the future of the moon. There are many plans and missions for exploring and colonizing the moon. But what will happen when we achieve our goals? Will the Earth and the moon drift apart, or will there be new nations on the moon? Who will own the moon and collect the rewards? First, start with the basics. One of the most ambitious and controversial plans for the moon is to establish a human colony there. Of course, a moon colony is not just a fancy hotel or a science lab, but a home away from home, with its own culture, economy, and politics. Sounds cool, but don't pack your bags just yet. a moon colony is not a walk in the park. It takes a lot of resources, technology, and people to survive in the cold and dark lunar landscape. It also brings a lot of ethical, legal, and political dilemmas about the rights and duties of the moon dwellers and their connection with Earth. According to the NASA proposal, the moon colony would house around 10 people for stays of up to a year at first. That's the plan that NASA has for the first moon colonists. They would take a ride on SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built, and land on the edge of one of the moon's poles, where the sun never sets and the ice never melts. There, they would use 3D printers to make everything they need, from houses to tools to furniture. Sounds like a fun DIY project, right? But that's just the beginning. Within 10 years, the colony would grow to 100 people and become a self-sufficient community on the moon. But there are many challenges and risks that come with living on the moon. First of all, the moon has no atmosphere, which means no protection from radiation, meteoroids, and extreme temperatures. You'd have to wear a spacesuit every time you step outside and live in a sealed dome that could break or go wrong at any moment. You'd also have to cope with the mental effects of being alone, bored, and stressed out on a barren rock. Another challenge is the legal mess that surrounds the moon and its resources. According to an old treaty from 1967, which most countries have agreed to, the moon belongs to everyone, and no one can own or rule any part of it. The treaty also forbids any military actions and weapons of mass destruction on the moon, but the treaty does not say how the moon's resources can be used or shared by different parties. This could cause trouble and arguments over who gets to dig, build, or explore on the moon. Well, you might think that the world should belong to everyone too, right? But just look at us. We have wars, poverty, inequality, and environmental problems. It's very naive to think that the moon will belong to everyone, because it won't. For example, China and Russia have teamed up to build a giant research station on the moon in the 2030s, and the plan to create a lucrative space business zone by 2050. The US is not happy with this idea and has started its own project to send humans back to the moon by 2024, and stay there for good by 2028. The US has also made some friends with other countries to join its moon club under the Artemis Accords, which lay down some rules and standards for peaceful and responsible moon activities. But what about the colonists themselves? What kind of rights and responsibilities would they have? Would they be citizens of their home countries, or would they form their own independent community? Would they follow Earth's laws, or would they create their own? Would they pay taxes to Earth, or keep their profits? Would they visit Earth occasionally, or would they stay on the moon forever? These are some of the hard questions that need to be answered before we can colonize the moon. But maybe we shouldn't worry too much about them. Maybe we should just enjoy the ride and see what happens. Who knows, maybe the moon will be the next hot destination for tourism, business, or even romance. Just imagine you could have a date on the moon and watch the Earth rise together. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video about Japan's moon sniper and the future of lunar colonization. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. And don't forget to leave a comment below and tell us what you think about living on the moon. Would you do it? Why or why not? We'd love to hear from you. By the way, did you know that Russia and India both tried to land on the moon recently, and they both reached the lunar surface, but one of the spacecrafts was not in one piece after landing. You can watch videos of these missions by clicking on these links. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.